hosting our event. I appreciate it. What did I say it wrong?
I'm telling you to stand up.
Oh. Thank you for hosting the event. I appreciate it. And then also,
You know, we can all see you.
oh, you can?
Yeah.
Kia, what's the name of your business? Golden Touch Events. For reals, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without you, Kia. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Riverside? Kia and I both connected over being from California. She's from the bad part, but I'm from the good part of California. So, but for real, Kia, for real. Just in all honesty, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right. Next, Michelle Lang Raymond, thank you so much for being here and doing this interview with me. I appreciate it. So what we're doing right now is I have a podcast that I do. It's called A Walk Through the Mud. And really, the point of the podcast is where real life meets faith and forgiveness. And so I had Michelle on my podcast, which was dope, and I interviewed her. And so this time, Michelle is going to interview me for my podcast. So, and I wanted to do a Q&A as well, Faiza. So when you're ready to ask her, you don't have it anymore? That's good, because I didn't really... I really didn't want to answer the questions anyway, so I appreciate it. So anyway, whenever you're ready, Michelle.
Well, welcome everybody. Am I on?
Yeah.
It's on? Sweet. Welcome again, everybody. It is such a wonderful thing for us to be here and to celebrate you and the book, to the journey that you've been on, and your TED Talk tomorrow.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo-hoo! That is no small thing. We are excited to sit, stand, and just be with you in this moment. So thank you for journeying, allowing us actually to come on your journey, which for you is no small thing because you just started journeying with people.
Yeah, I did just start journeying with people.
And we're glad.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean?
No.
What do you mean by that?
I agree.
Let's not.
It's true.
Jeff, ain't nobody even
It's
asked
true.
me.
And that's a beautiful thing.
got stories.
We're thankful. We're thankful to be in this space with you. So we're going to just take a few moments to talk a little bit about your journey, literally talk about the book called Journey, maybe talk about tomorrow, the TED Talk, and just sort of spend a little bit of time just sort of picking the brain and the heart of Michael Ling and the work that you are doing so passionately.
Absolutely.
We were talking the other day, as we now do, and you were talking about something completely not related to what we were actually talking about. But I got stuck by something you said that I kind of want to start our conversation off with, and you just sort of casually said, well, you know, when I first started learning how to forgive, and then you kind of kept talking about it. And I said, you know what, pause for a second, because that phrase, learning to forgive, is such a powerful thought, just as the jump off of a whole conversation, and I think even of this book, because so many people, I think, would say, oh, you just forgive, you just do it. Forgiveness is just something you do, and we should all know how to do it. We should already sort of have something dialed in that allows us to do it. But I love that the approach that you have and the thing that you have learned is that actually being a forgiver and the process of forgiveness is actually something that we actually do have to learn. So I want to start there, just talk a little bit about just this deep dive that you have taken into this process and this journey of being a forgiving person.
Yeah. So forgiveness absolutely is an intentional decision to do something. You know, and I will start with the definition of forgiveness, because it kind of grounded my own process to healing. And so forgiveness is the intentional decision to release resentment and anger towards a person or a situation. And here's the thing that really gets a lot of people hung up. It's even when the apology never comes. And that's the part that got me hung up for a long time, is I'm like, look, if you didn't say sorry, then why are we even still talking? You know, like I don't really have anything else to say, or if you didn't say sorry, you didn't, you did it intentionally, was really my thought process around that. And so for me, I had to take a step back out of that because I kept replaying these moments all the time in my mind. And I lived in this constant state of just fear of somebody's going to do something to me, or I always needed to protect myself from something or push people away, keep people at arm's length because I just didn't want to allow anybody to get close to me. And so when I started that process to forgiveness, it was an intentional decision. And, just to kind of connect what I'm doing tomorrow, my TED Talk over at UW, I talk a lot about I talk a lot about my grandma, Dorothy Ling, and because I wouldn't have made the intentional decision to forgive had it not been for her. And there was a lot that I did, a lot that she imparted into me in such a short amount of time. And so when I saw her intentionally forgiving, then I decided that I wanted to intentionally forgive as well. So anyway, I'm good to go. I'm not gonna cry
Okay.
on camera.
Okay.
No, we ain't doing all that.
Well, let's talk about Dorothy. No, I'm joking. I'm messing with you. When was there a moment that you made that decision? I know you just talked about Grandma Dorothy, but was there sort of a moment that was the seminal moment, the pivotal moment that you said, I have to, that what I've been doing is not working, it's not serving me, and I have to do something different? What was that?
So there were a lot of moments like that. It wasn't just any one moment in particular. There were a lot of moments where I stopped and I'm like, man, I can't keep living like this. And, actually my dad is here, and we had so many conversations around this subject and around letting things go and around forgiving people. But there was a lot of moments, but there was one in particular that I can think of. It was probably 2 years ago. And, and I had already started my journey to forgiveness long before then, but it was a real kind of pivotal moment, I guess you could say. And Julian was graduating high school and my parents were up here and we all went to a restaurant. And so I have been divorced from his mom probably 10 years, I think, somewhere around in there. And so she came up with my sister and, and a bunch of other people that were a part of my family because they maintained a relationship with her after, we got divorced. And I don't have a relationship with them, but they maintained a relationship with her. And when they got here, when I saw them laughing together and like joking together, it just kind of triggered this thing in me where I relived all that hurt that I had already walked through. And I thought I was done for the most part. I'm like, oh, I could be in a room with them, and be fine. Or I could be in a room with them and be fine. And then, but, seeing them together in a room was not fine. Yeah. And I left out of the restaurant and I tried to kind of gain my composure. And as soon as I kind of busted through the doors and walked out, and immediately after me was my dad. And he came out there with me and he stood with me and he just held me in that moment, of just being broken and, just like the pain that kind of swirls. It's like, for me, I guess the best way for me to put it is it's like this constant like churning in my heart where I can't have peace. I can't move forward. I can't think through anything. I can't feel anything besides anger and destruction and hurt. And having him there to just kind of walk me out of that place, And he told me in that moment, he's like, you have to, you gotta let this go. You can't continue to be in this cycle. And he had told me that so many times before. And it's funny, we were on a walk the other day and having this conversation, and I told him it was that moment that was pivotal for me. So it's cool that you asked that question. But he told me that. And I remember after hearing it, it just, for whatever reason, clicked. And I walked back in there and I was able to just, even in that moment, I was able to walk in there and just be cordial and be nice and talk. And even the next day, the same thing. It was a cool experience, you know? So, I mean, if there was any one moment, I would refer to that one.
Do you think when you walk back in there, do you think the people in there were taken aback by the different person that walked back in the room?
I'm gonna say no, but I say no because I don't think that they realized what happened.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I got there, I left out of the room. Like I saw them through the window, you know, and I was just like, I can't do this, and I kept trying to walk, and I got in there, and I was just like, boom, I left. So I don't think so. But I mean, maybe there was, because, you know, when my dad was there, he referred to, there was a moment where one of my family members was standing right there, and just like, it was a weird moment because they were afraid, it seemed like, even to talk or to have a conversation. But I also hadn't seen this person in 7 years, you know? And so maybe that was a part of it. But so I'm going to say, I don't think so. I don't think that they realized anything was going on, but I mean, they very well could have.
As you were telling the story about your dad taking you on that walk, if you turn around, he actually got a little emotional just listening to you tell that story.
Oh, Dad, come on.
And I think it's such a beautiful moment, reminder, demonstration of how important it is for people to draw near to us when we're actually in our most unlovable state sometimes, how important that is. Can you speak to that?
You're gonna ask me to talk right now. My relationship with my dad is so important to me because I didn't get to have him. Okay, well, we did it. I didn't get to have him when I was a kid. I didn't get the protection. Now, I've never told my son this, and he read my book, and I don't remember if I put it in there or not, but I was jealous of him, my own son, when he was younger, because he had me, you know, like he could lay on my chest when he was scared. He had me to play ball with, and I didn't do it perfect by any stretch, you know, but he had me there. And I didn't have my dad. I didn't grow up with him, you know, and it wasn't his fault and it wasn't my fault, you know. I didn't grow up with him. And so now to have him here at these events, I'm sometimes always nervous to call my parents and be like, hey, do you guys want to come to this event? Because sometimes I don't feel worth it enough to travel across the country. And they have never once ever said no. They come to visit me. They flew, and they live in Maryland. It's all the way across the country. They flew to Vegas when I lived there to check on me and visit me. They flew here, you know, like, and to be here at this event, you know, it's my first book signing, and my parents are here to share this with me. My dad is here to share this with me, you know, like this goes forever, you know, this is forever. I don't even know if I answered the question, but, you know. Praise the Lord.
I don't know. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, let me give you an emotional break for just a second. Yeah. So you wrote a book.
Yeah.
Called Journey. Let me read the whole title.
Journey: The Story of Perseverance Through Forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now here's my question. I do want you to get into it, but what I want to ask is, forgiveness is not a trending topic, right? It's not, for lack of a better way to say it, it's not like sexy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you're talking about books for men, especially. This is not necessarily like, yeah, this is the number one topic on men's reading, you know what I mean? And I know the book is not just for men, but why write a book about this? Why did you feel like taking all that you were learning, experiencing, processing, why did you feel like it was important for you to turn that into something?
It was important for me because I had to walk through what it did for me. And so going through that and coming to a place where, you know what, here's the thing. I believe that when you hang on to unforgiveness, it goes through generations. It's not something that starts and stops with you. It goes through generations. And I have kids, and I did not want my kids to walk through what I went through. I did not want them to feel the same things I felt, to walk through those same hardships. And it's crazy that these questions are crazy, because I was just having a conversation with my son the other day, and he told me, about how proud of me he was, because he said, I have seen such a huge change in you. I was not perfect walking through this, but I tried to show up in every moment, and be authentic. I don't even know if authenticity is the right word, but I tried to show up and be authentic and be just who I am in every moment. And when he told me that, he's like, I'm proud of you that you've just always showed up and you've always just been here. And I'm proud of where you've come from to where you are now. Is amazing. And he jumped on, we have kind of a spin-off from a Walk Through the Mud. It's a Walk Through the Mud Conversations. It's like 10 minutes of just excerpts. And he even jumped on there and talked about how important it is to take care of your heart, and how important it is and how hard it is to do that. And I'm like, man, he, just seeing the growth even in him and in my daughter and in, just people around me, I'm like, yeah, I have to do this work. I have to write this book. I have to tell this story. I have to walk this journey out, because I don't think that, I think that when God gives you a gift, and this is 1000% a gift, you can't just hang on to it, like you gotta give it out. And so for me, I needed to give it out. It changed my life to walk through this. It changed my heart. It changed the trajectory of my life to be in this situation. And so I had to give it back.
Yeah. People assume when somebody literally writes the book on a subject that they have figured it out, that they have mastered it. Can we talk a little bit about failure and just sort of how that shows up? I'm assuming it does. And you talked a little bit about how you haven't been a perfect father or a perfect son. And talk a little bit about, because I think when people think when you write the book or you write the song or you give the sermon or you give the lecture, that you have completely mastered this thing, and it no longer has any capacity for you to trip and fall or fail. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, first of all, you're always going to trip and fall and fail, especially in a subject like forgiveness. There's not any one way to do it. And I think that I tripped a lot over this idea that you have to just eat crow and move on, or you have to just forgive. You forgive, but you don't forget. Like there are all these different variations of forgiveness that I tripped over every single one of them until I got to a point where I'm like, okay, what does this look like for Michael? How does Michael process the idea of somebody hurting him and releasing them from that situation, And so that's the first thing I'll say, is it's different for everybody. I'm not here to say this is the way to do it. I am here to say, though, is that you should start, like it's important to start doing it. And as far as, just like the failures that I've had moving forward, I mean, I just talked about one of them. I was well in my, journey to forgiveness, before 2 years ago happened. And I just kind of got to this point where I was choked up and upset, and, all these things happened. So there's always going to be times where you don't get it right, But I think the goal is to hang on to the times that you do get it right. Hang on to the things that you can see the growth in. Hang on to the things that you cherish in yourself. When you get to a place where you learn something new, like all of us have learned something new at one point or another, and there's this feeling of excitement, right? Like you've learned something, I'm like excited to learn it. This is dope for me. And then really often for me, that excitement would immediately turn into, well, I should have did it better this time, or I should have done that, or I should have did this. But the goal is to stay in that excitement for a little while, enjoy yourself and what you learned in that moment. You don't want to stay there either. There's a middle ground to it. You don't want to stay so far over here where you can't see anything you do wrong, and you don't want to stay so far over here where you can't see anything you do right.
That's good.
Finding the place where it's like, hey, today I was able to forgive. Today I was able to walk through that. Like most of us put on a fence like we do clothes in the morning. Like we put on this jacket of resentment, because you should have been there when this happened, or the pants of what I lost for 10 years because it's 10 years is not enough time, right? To forgive somebody for something egregious. Well, I mean, I walked through it for years. I'm 42 years old. And I think I started this journey for real, you know, probably 5 years ago, for real, you know, trying to forgive and walk through this. So there's most of us do that. We wake up and we put on all the offense that we should just leave. And we carry around these feelings and these burdens that were only supposed to be warning signs, right? They weren't supposed to be something that you carry around all the time, you know? And so I say that when you do that, you know, like really just try and get to a place where you can regard yourself. You can see yourself, you know, and give yourself grace and try to walk out of that position. If
Nice.
that makes sense.
Beautiful. Can we take it to the room?
1000%.
Nice.
Yeah.
So while you're, we would love to open this up for some questions and answers, or just question and dialogue. So as you think about that, I would just ask you one more question for anybody who might be thinking about a question or an insight or a commentary that they might want to share. You talk about get started. If there was one step that you would say would be maybe not universal, but generally a good first step for anybody that is processing, thinking about needing to journey into forgiveness, what would you say that is?
The one thing that I would say is make the step to understand that you are okay where you are. It's not that you need to stay in that one space and never do the work, but you gotta give yourself grace to be where you are. I think that so many times I, in my own mind, was like, I should be, you know, way out here, be doing all these other things, you know, like, and honestly, you are where you are. You can't be anywhere else. Isaiah said the greatest thing, you know, to me one time. He was like, I'm just Isaiah because I don't know how to be nobody else. I can't be nobody else, so I'm just Isaiah. Be where you are. It's okay to be where you are. Start right there. And if you can get up in the morning and start where you are, then you can get to the place where you can forgive. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like, I know there's a lot of things that have happened, you know, and I talk about a lot of stuff in my book. And a lot of people would say, oh, you know, I don't forgive, or, you know, you don't know what they did. You don't know what happened. And I totally understand that. But forgiveness is not for the other person. It is not a gift that you give to somebody else. It is you making the decision to not stay chained to what they did any longer.
So if where you are is angry, you're saying start there.
Start there.
If where you are is bitter, start there. What does that mean? Like when you say start there with anger, what does that mean?
So what it means is, for a long time, I thought that if I was angry at somebody or something or a situation, whatever it was, like I had to just get over it. How many times have y'all heard that? Like, just get over it. Oh, you're fine. It's cool. Just move on, you know? Like, but you can't just get over it. It's not a situation where it's like, oh, I'm done, or oh, I'm not gonna do this, or oh, whatever, you know? Like, I think starting where you are is understanding that if you're angry today, then just be angry today. And when you wake up tomorrow, if you're bitter tomorrow, just be bitter tomorrow. But also understanding that, hey, I know I'm here, but this is not where I want to be forever. And if you can give yourself that small little opening, right? That small little entrance, like, I know this is where I'm at, but I will not be here tomorrow. I will not be this way tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to get up and do that. Or even just fill it for the next 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then for the other 15 minutes, try to get up out of it, you know? Like, say, I'm going to think about something different. I'm not going to allow these thoughts to bombard me anymore.
Yeah, that's really good. I have, as you say that, I have a friend in my life who has just decided that where they are, the anger and where, you know, the bitterness and the resentment that they have, it's just where they're going to stay. And that makes it tough for me, quite honestly, to be vulnerable with them, because I feel like they will, like, if I make a mistake, that's forever with them.
Yeah.
You know, and so I love that you're saying it's okay to be whatever you are, but also say and be committed to, this is not where I want to be tomorrow. This is not where I want to be next year. Because I think that also liberates people around you to know that you're on a process, and somewhere they're in your process.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Let's open it. Let's open the room, open the floor. Any questions? Do we need to get the microphone to the people who have
I
questions?
think that's a good idea. Does anybody have a question? Oh.
Well, you shouldn't do that.
I'm just
You
going to
shouldn't
give it
do
to
that.
him. I'm just going to give it to him and sit back down.
My question is, what part of healing is, or what part of stepping outside of your norm helps with healing? Because when I met you, you weren't an actor. When I met you, you weren't teaching class.
Yeah.
And it was something that you talked about. Man, I've never done this before.
Or doing a TED Talk.
But we watched you, right? And you continuously got better, and you committed to character. And so I'm trying to, I guess the question is, what part of that different road, going down a different road, helped you look at something different? Right? You weren't doing what you thought you should be doing right now, but that you were doing something different. Did it allow you to then look at your situation differently?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just trying to connect that for a second. I think that for me, the last several years of my life has been stepping outside of myself. So just going back to what we talked about, if you're, being angry in a situation, be angry in that day. But that little tidbit that you tell yourself, like, hey, I'm not going to be this the next 15 minutes or the next day tomorrow. You have to step outside of yourself and be uncomfortable and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I hear that so many times, like, you got to learn to be uncomfortable. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the everything of this is like, it's easy. It was so easy for me to just be mad. It was so easy for me to just hate. So easy for me to just be like, yo, I don't mess with you no more. It was easy for me to do that. It was a lot harder for me to say, you know what, even though I don't mess with you today, I'm not going to think negative thoughts about you today. Today, I'm going to say, all right, let me find something positive. And you know where it started?
Good, Michael.
It started with me thinking something positive about myself first.
That's good.
I started with like, hey, you are a good dad.
That's good.
Hey, you know what? You can do this. And then when that happened, I was able to translate that over to somebody else, and especially the people that hurt me. So
That's
if
great.
that answers the
That's
question.
really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a question over here?
Yeah. Piggybacking off Isaiah's question a little bit, you moved up to Washington. So you and I never had this conversation, but how much did moving up here to this state impact the change and your process to journeying into forgiveness? How much did moving impact that?
So I will tell you that it was definitely instrumental, and I don't think that I even realized it, because if you have a wound, right, and you keep re-injuring the wound, it doesn't ever heal. And so me staying stuck in situations with people that continue to re-injure me, I couldn't heal. And so moving up here was hard because you're secluded, right? You're alone. Like when you have that wound, it's like they put stitches in it. That doesn't feel good. They wrap it even. So it's dark in there. So it doesn't feel like there's light or anything you can gain from that. But after a while, that wound starts to heal and it starts to get stronger and stronger. And that's exactly what happened to me up here. Is I got away from all the things that were dragging me down, and I was able to really just be with Michael and figure out what Michael had going on. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't make dumb choices still in those moments. I did. There were still things that were hard, but I still was able to step outside of myself coming up here and really begin to heal, just being away from the toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
You talk about the process or the steps you take when you're trying to forgive someone. Does that process look different when you're trying to forgive yourself?
So I did this. I have this, like, I don't know what you call it on TikTok, like a note, I think. I don't know what it is, but you write on there. And my question is who is the hardest person you've ever had to forgive?
Prompt.
And it was a prompt. Okay. I got probably 30 something thousand views, over 800 comments on this thing. And out of 800 people that commented on this, I would say 90% of them said themselves. 90% of those people were like, myself is the hardest person to forgive. And so I think that when I said earlier that I started with telling myself good things, it absolutely, the process is the same. For me, it was the same. For me, I had to take a break from beating myself up because I was so good at that. I was so good at being like, oh, I should be further along. I should do this. I should do it. I'm not a good dad. I'm this, I'm that. I was so good at beating myself up. I had to then go back and retrain myself how to talk to my own self. And it was a hard process. It wasn't easy. But again, it was something that I continuously did every day. I was committed to it. One time, I'll just tell this real quick story. I was in therapy. And my therapist and I were sitting there. We usually had these 1-hour sessions. And she said, Michael, I need you to write 5 good things down about yourself. Bro, I sat in there for an hour and could not think of 5 good things to write. I couldn't, after like 30 or 45 minutes, she was like, can you do 3? Can you do 1 even? For the whole hour passed by, I couldn't think of 1 good thing to say about myself. Because I spent so much time tearing myself down, you know? And so I would say, yes, the process is the same. Start with where you are, you know, and give yourself grace. Meet yourself where you are. Say 1 good thing about yourself. What I started doing is I started getting up in the morning and looking myself in the mirror and saying, I love you in the mirror. That was hard for me to tell myself that I love you in the mirror. So I started there. And then from there, I was able to kind of continue to build on it. It's like a muscle, right? Like the weights don't get lighter. It just gets easier to lift them because you worked it out, you know? Like the process for me telling myself that I'm a good person, I'm a good father, or I'm worth it even, you know, like it's still the same. It just gets easier the more that I have repetition doing it.
Mm-hmm. Even to this day, when you are still learning forgiveness for yourself and for others, do you still struggle with anything such as like imposter syndrome?
Nice.
Absolutely. I think that, yes, 1000%. I struggled so much with this book and imposter syndrome with this book. Because, I mean, I failed every single English class I took in school. I shouldn't, you know, by statistical standards, I shouldn't be an author. I shouldn't be able to write a book, you know? I couldn't even write in a complete sentence, you know? And so I just, when I think about that, yeah, I definitely, you know, can relate to that, having imposter syndrome. But again, it's about telling yourself what the positive part to that is. Like, even though I failed English class, you know, like I still was able to, I wrote this, you know, like that's a real thing. I actually sat down and took the time to write this book, you know? So like, yeah, if you're, whatever it is that you're struggling with or dealing with, you know, find one thing that you can attach your thought process to that is good about yourself, and the rest of it will come.
Yeah. While the mic is being passed and whoever wants to grab it, go ahead and grab it. I want to go have a little personal kind of retelling of our story, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we met, because your daughter was in the Teen Summer Musical, a theater program that me and some folks in the room run. And so when we met, you were a dutiful dad, bringing her to practice every single day, but you were also an independent worker, right? And so you would sometimes just be waiting in the lobby for her to be done, because it was just easier than you driving all the way back home and coming back and all that.
Yeah.
And so there were lots of days that we would be walking around the building and we would see Mr. Ling sitting out in the lobby, and we tried to be nice to Mr. Ling, y'all. We really tried. But Mr. Ling was either really busy on his laptop doing whatever his work was that we could never get him to fully tell us what it was. We're just like Tommy out there. Or you could just got a sense that Mr. Ling just did not want to be bothered. And after a while, Honestly, the team of us just sort of said, he don't want to be bothered, and we're not gonna keep trying.
Yeah.
And so we didn't. We really said, you know what? He's here to pick up his kid, and we're gonna let that be that. And then over the course of time, though, we did notice, you hanging out a little bit longer. You were using more than 3 words in a response to us. You would just sort of engage a little bit. You know what I mean? And then your daughter, same child, challenged you to actually get in a show.
Yeah.
Because she thought it would be a good thing for you to show you how hard she has to work for you to actually get in the show and you see if you can do it yourself. And so you took her up on that challenge.
I did.
And you got in your first show, which was Soldier's Play, right?
Yeah.
And so he gets in this play with 13 other men, grown men, and he does this really intense show, and he is cast as the character that honestly has to do the most emotional lift. Is that fair? Right? Has to do the most emotional lift in the show. I'm sure he didn't know that when he took the part. He was just like, I'm gonna get here, I'm gonna learn my lines and whatever. But shout out to Soraya for knowing that there's a work to this. And so you get this part, and we're in rehearsals, and we're deep into rehearsals now. We're 5 or 6 weeks in, and we can't just do lines and blocking anymore. The director has to actually allow what this human experience to happen with you and this cast of brothers, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a rehearsal that your character has to finally start feeling, or Michael has to start feeling what his character is dealing with.
Yeah.
And little by little, you sort of were inching up on it, rehearsal by rehearsal. But we finally get to one rehearsal where the floodgates just sort of open for you. And you just sort of lose it in the scene. And as soon as the scene is over, he like runs out the building. And he's like, I can't do this. I cannot be here. I cannot be with these people. And he runs out. And the director is directing the show, so he can't get up and just go out there, right? And so it's part of my job to a degree is to go chase it down. So I go outside, and Michael's outside basically kicking garbage cans. And I'm like, you all right? And he's like, I just want to be alone. I just want to be alone. I was like, okay, well, we've done that. We've done that where we leave you alone, Michael. We've done that.
Yeah.
So let's work through this. And I think at one point you were like, I don't want to go back in there. And I was like, well, you gotta. Right? It's like, you gotta. So let's work through this. And I think what I want to get to is at some point, I think this phrase was said, Michael, at some point, you have to trust us. And at some point, you have to trust that you are okay here. Even in this vulnerable, fragile, emotional state with new relationships, you have to trust us. And you have to trust yourself with us. And you got it together. I left you, and you took a little bit more time with yourself, and you came on back in. Can you just talk about, and I know this was just out of left field, really, that I'm bringing this up, but I feel like there was a process there that is evident in the process that you're inviting people to take. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, first of all, y'all are crazy. That's the first thing. But really, I just didn't trust anybody. And I felt like I couldn't trust people with my heart, Like my heart had been broken so many times to that point. And I'm just like, I can't give you anything that I don't really have, It's like it's funny when you say that there were, you couldn't get more than 3 words out of me. It's because I'm literally picking up pieces of my heart to give you at a time. Because that's what it looks like. It's shattered. So I couldn't give you any more than that. So when I'm in that rehearsal, and there was another time before that wasn't even the first time, but there was another time before that, and I'm in that rehearsal, and y'all have been through this. You guys have done it, but I haven't. And I didn't plan to walk through that in a theater with 13 other dudes, having a conversation about my feelings. I had a great time when we talked about all the things we had in common, right? We're making fun of people. We're, making fun of each other. That was dope. But the second y'all...
Michael Lang, everyone.
The second y'all were like, so how do you feel about that, Michael? I'm done, and I didn't want to have that conversation. And so the process of that was it wasn't something that I had planned. It all just came to a head, you know? It was the culmination of the work that was being done over here and the
Yeah.
work that was being done over
Yeah.
here and some of the work that I started on this end and some of this work that's coming down that I didn't expect, you know? And then it all met in one point, you know, where kicking trash cans was the thing, you know, and it's better to kick trash cans than the, you know, another person. So I just felt like that was all encompassed one feeling and emotion was is I have to, it's almost like it was extracted from me, you know? There was no, hey, I give this to you process. It was extracted from me in that moment. Now I went along with it, you know, like, cause I knew in that moment I was committed to it. I was committed to the healing. I was committed to being okay and being in that place to forgive, but I just didn't expect it to come at that time. There was nobody in that group that I needed to forgive. My idea of forgiveness was if you did something to me, then I got to deal with you on a level that's not physical and nice, you know, and forgive them. I didn't expect to be in a play, nonetheless, or a moment with a lot of men that I don't know and still walking through forgiveness, because forgiveness sometimes doesn't feel like forgiveness. You know, sometimes it feels like something else. Sometimes it feels like, you know, like you're drowning. Sometimes it feels like this enormous amount of pain that you feel like you can't hold up anymore. It feels like a lot of different things, but the process to forgiveness is the extracting of this poison, you know, that you've been living with for years. It's like a splinter. When you have a splinter in your finger, if you leave it in there, it's gonna get infected, you know? But as soon as you take it out, like the process of taking the splinter out, it hurts, you know, it doesn't feel great. But when you get to that point, that's when the healing can begin. And that's what took place in that moment was the splinter was being removed, you know? And so there was this flood of emotion and this rush of all these things that were coming up that I did not expect in that moment. I mean, but you know, we dealt with it.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. To this day, I'm proud of you. Any other question from the room?
Oh, let's
Yes.
wrap it up. Oh,
That's water?
Michael,
yep.
in your journey of forgiveness, and please understand when I walk through this with you, in your journey of forgiveness, have you come across a situation or person or group that you have not been able to forgive? And if so, what is your idea or road to travel, I guess, to achieve and not fall back? Especially if you're meeting new people, or not really new people, just new situations that come into your life.
So to answer the first part of that question, no. There's not anybody that I have not forgiven. And hear me when I say that it's not because the relationship is perfect now or because it's all figured out.
Yeah.
But it's an intentional decision for me to walk through and say, hey, regardless of how I feel about you right now, I'm still gonna forgive you for what you did. And that doesn't mean that I talk to him or stay in contact with him or be close or whatever it is. It just means that I understand that I've got to walk through those feelings and emotions that come up every now and again, you know? And so, but what I will say is that when you walk through that process, when I have walked through that process of forgiveness, it has brought me to a place where I can recognize the feelings that come with it almost immediately. Almost immediately I recognize the feelings. And I have a choice in that moment. And we all come across this, right? Because for a long time I thought that when I had unforgiveness in my heart, when I was hurt, it was just, I had no choice. I had to just feel what I felt. And feelings are valid. They're amazing, but they don't run your life.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I had to come to a place where I had a choice in my mind. It's almost like I've set before you life and death, right? Choose life. And I had to choose to walk in the direction that was going to help me be who I wanted to be and not keep me in the space of who I don't want to be. And so that's the process for me. So do I have a perfect relationship with everybody? No. Do I want a perfect relationship with everybody? I mean, sure. Like it'd be great to have a perfect relationship, but people will be people and I'm going to be me also. So you're probably not going to have a perfect relationship with everybody. But what I can say is that as I walk through my life from now on, because I can only start with right now, from now on, I get to choose. Where before I didn't. Before I was just sucked into these emotions and I was just propelled forward into all these thoughts and feelings of hatred and anger and, and despair, all these things. Now I get to stand up and make a choice that I am going to continue with my peace instead of giving over my life to something that doesn't give me
That's awesome.
any value at all.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome. Thank you.
thank you, Pop.
Last call. Any other questions in the room? And they don't have to be questions. If you have some insight that you can offer, now would be a great time as well.
I got some insight. No, I'm saying no
Yeah.
insight. Just a question. Man, so what do you do when God says you're ready to forgive, but you don't think you're ready to forgive? When He's encouraged you, when He's saying like, no, you are. You're just stuck. And I know you can forgive, but you're not ready to forgive.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing: when you add God into it, it's a completely different concept, right? Like, so for me, there's not everybody believes in God, right? And that's between them and God. And so I am more of along the lines of like, I don't want to cause somebody to stumble because there are some egregious things that people have been through. And so for me to sit here and say it's an obedience issue to them that don't know God, that would be egregious, But to you who knows God, it's an obedience issue. You're like when Jesus was walking through, and he was with the disciples, and he saw the fig tree, and it didn't have any fruit, so Jesus cursed the fig tree. And then the next day they came back, and Peter was like, "Oh snap, there ain't no fruit on the tree," and Jesus was like, "Of course, because I cursed the fig tree." And he said, when you go to pray for something, you could move mountains with your faith, right? But before you pray, before you ask God for anything, before you bring any petition to God, first, if you have an issue with your brother, you go and make that right. You go and forgive. When I read that story out of the Bible, I was like, hold up, Lord. That means that when you pray for it, the Bible says your answers, when you go and you forgive, whatever you pray for, God will answer that prayer. So you got to start thinking about all the things that aren't happening for you in your life. And who is it in your life that you need to go and forgive? That you have to be obedient in that moment and walk through that forgiveness. Because with God, He's going to walk through it with you. Faith is it's not a one person thing, right? Like it's between you and God, and He's going to walk through it with you. But if you don't start the journey, there's nothing to walk through, right? So it's an obedience issue.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a mic. All right.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Can you bring me that mic? Oh, that's right. Oh man, this has been such a good time of conversation and just hearing a little bit more about your work, your philosophy, your idea, your process around such an important topic. And we just want to end by celebrating again that tomorrow is a incredible first time for you doing your first TED Talk. Can you talk a little bit about that? How are you feeling? How can we lift you up? How can we pray for you? And and support you in this moment.
Prayers. I appreciate it. The thing with this TED Talk is it's not just me getting on stage and standing on a red circle and talking about something that's relevant to some people. Me talking about this is breaking chains literally off of me. It's not just, and so I went to rehearsal yesterday and I was telling a couple people this. I went to rehearsal yesterday and I just fell flat on my face, you know, and it just didn't come out well. I kept having to call for line, all these different things that had taken place. And so I leave there and I'm like, man, maybe I ain't supposed to do this and all the things that you tell yourself. And then I come to this moment where it's like we're driving and I'm praying about this, and it's just like, you know, it's not even just about, it is about this, but counting it all joy when you go through various trials. It's definitely about that. But also it's about just giving them up to God. Those, when God says to count all joy, I was like, Lord, am I supposed to just have like this fake happiness of joy or a fake faith? Like, what does that even look like? But it literally is giving it up to God in those moments and allowing him to exchange your ashes for beauty, right? And give you joy for the pain that you're experiencing. And that's the point, you know? And so when I walked through that and God gave me this insight as I was thinking about this, like, it's not because you don't know the story. It's not because there's any other thing around it besides the fact that I'm breaking something off of you, and it ain't supposed to look like everybody else. It ain't supposed to look normal. You're dying to yourself. So everything that you know to do ain't gonna happen this time.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm just, you know, continue to pray for me, you know, like, and it's, you know, Isaiah, he will tell me 1,000 times, he's told me this so many times, it ain't about memorizing the script, right? You don't memorize your lines, like, you know this, like, you know the story. So move through it like you know the story. And I know the story better than anybody else because it's my story, you know, it's my story. And so for me to stand there and to fall out of sync yesterday with it was only because I thought, like, hey, I got to do it this specific way. And, or, you know, I has to go like this, or I got to say these things here. But sitting here with you like this has given me a newfound confidence, respect for it. I'm just like, man, I'm going to get up there and say what I got to say and let that be it.
Let that be it.
Because I got something to say.
That's right.
You know, so.
That's right. And they invited you.
They did.
They needed to hear your story.
They did.
They invited you. We are so proud of you.
I appreciate it.
I think after, right. We are so proud of you. I think after this week, after tonight, after the TED Talk tomorrow, you're going to sleep so good.
Man, you ain't even lying.
You're going to sleep so good. Let's give it up for Michael Ling one more time, everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
How do you want to end the night?
Oh, you know what? Look, I appreciate all of you guys coming. If you haven't yet, there's a QR code back there for the books. For those of you who don't know, I ordered the books like 15 days ago. They were supposed to get here. They didn't get here. There was some weather, and so they didn't get here in time. They're literally sitting in the port of Tacoma until Monday. And so if you can get on there and order the book online, there's a QR code right there. You can scan it, and then gives you a space to leave your information. And so I can write whatever you want me to write in there, and I'll just email it off. I'm not email it. Gosh, come on, Michael. I will mail it off to you guys. So I appreciate all of the support. Thank you. Make sure you get a copy of the book. And I from the bottom of my heart, share it. Oh yeah, please share it. Yeah. Even if you guys get it and you feel like you know somebody who needs it, get one for them too.
Nice.
You know, I definitely appreciate all this, and thank you guys for being here. This means a lot to me and my family. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.